Hello everyone and welcome to Cultural Dishcovery. I am your host Shelina Elyse. I'm exploring cultures through food, and today we are going to take you through a spooky recipe. So to go along with spooky season and soup season, I'm going to be featuring a recipe from this cookbook here, Food to Die For by Amy Bruni. This is really cool because Amy got her start in the corporate world, but she's always loved paranormal activity and always had a little side hustle that involved her favorite subject. She got invited to participate in Ghost Hunters. She was on a few episodes guest starring there and became part of the real life crew. Through that, she's also developed her career into other different aspects of the paranormal, of dealing with history, and now she does a lot of different projects. She has her own podcast if you're interested, and this book is really cool. It's recipes and stories from America's most legendary haunted places. So it gives a little bit of her background and how she's come to make this book. What I really appreciated was her perspective that a recipe really gives us a glimpse into the past, into history. We can taste what the past was like, how people were cooking, what ingredients they used. So really enjoyed this book, and it's kind of a crossover into one of the other projects I participate in through our YouTube channel, Overnight Pictures. That project is Talk About Scary with the original hosts Adam and Clay. If you're into that sort of thing, which most of this channel is, feel free to scoot on over there and check all that stuff out. The most recent ghost hunting project was the Ghostly Secrets of the Hotel San Carlos, and that's one that they really found spooky, spine-tingling, so highly recommend that and all of the other spooky projects we've got on over there. But you're really here for the food, so let's move on. Today we are making Potato Dijon Soup that originated in Bisbee, Arizona, the Copper Queen Hotel. So I'll go ahead and put this aside. What I have here for you is one of our starting ingredients. It is a leek. If you've never seen a leek, this is what it looks like. It's basically a giant spring onion in that same family. I've got some of it cut up here because what we're going to use is just the white part here. So that's this finished one here. So on the end you can see the root, similar again to a spring onion, and we are going to go ahead and cut these into thin strips here. We're just going to use this white part. So Bisbee is a town in very far south Arizona, almost to Mexico. I believe only 8 miles from the border. In 1877, gold and silver was discovered in the Arizona Mule Mountains. This story is also part of the cookbook as well, part of what makes it so awesome, that she offers that history of where these recipes come from. Yeah, so Bisbee developed into a copper mining town. One of the mining camps or companies decided to add in a hotel after the boom of Bisbee itself, and the Copper Queen Hotel still exists today. It is known as a historic site, also one of many paranormal sightings. So many that there is a ghost guest book, sightings from guests. They put them into the book so you can see what other tales that folks who have stayed there before you have had, their experiences and encounters with the paranormal, whether they're pitter-patter of feet or seeing a full-blown apparition. It apparently is still a hotbed of activity, which is also why it's in this book. So if you're down in Bisbee, highly recommend. I haven't been there just yet. We'll see if I get myself down there. But yeah, we've got our leeks prepared here. We're going to take these over to the pot. The pot has been getting a little bit warm while we've been chatting, so let's get all of that started in there. Okay, so I'm gonna bring this down a little bit low because, like I said, it's been sitting on the heat for a minute. What we have, 3 ounces of diced pancetta, and I will confess that my box of pancetta came in 4 ounces, so we're just gonna do 4 ounces. Perfect. What we want to do is render the fat from the pancetta. We also are going to put our leeks here. Oh, and leeks, they are again related to spring onions. They have a milder flavor, but again, very flavorful. Put that in there. And then we're also going to put in yellow onion. I just cut this up. So this is obviously before I taught myself how to dice an onion, because you probably see they're a little irregular shaped, but that's fine. What we're going to do is we will brown and soften these vegetables here. And we will add our other ingredients at the end. We're actually going to take a fancy gadget, an immersion blender, blend it all down so it's smooth and creamy. Now, I personally prefer a chunky potato soup, but we are gonna taste how fancy people like to enjoy it at the Copper Queen Hotel. And I'm going to kick this up again, now that we've lost a little bit of that heat. Just wanted to make sure it didn't scorch anything. Perfect. That is such an amazing smell. The leek is like onion essence. Yes, there is onion in there, so that's what's more pronounced. But you can really smell the onion essence and like cabbaginess of the leek. And now that I think about it, I don't know if I've ever cooked with leek before, so I'm very excited to have this recipe. All right, we're going to let that sit and stir every so often. It'll probably take about 10 or so minutes to soften up these vegetables, and then we will come back. We've got some potatoes hanging out here. We'll put the potatoes and the chicken stock in, let it all simmer, and keep it going. But I heard there was a leak. That's fine. I got these a little too brown, but that's okay. We'll be fine, I'm sure. So what I'm doing right now is I am putting in 6 cups of chicken broth. There we are. Perfect. And then each of these has 4 cups, so I did 1 box. And then now I'm gonna add the other half of a box. Just a little bit more. Perfect. And then also we're gonna be adding in 3 russet potatoes, because this is a potato Dijon soup after all. I'm gonna incorporate these here. Oh, that smells really amazing. So we're gonna bring this up to a boil. All the vegetables were soft a little bit earlier, so now we're going to get the potatoes themselves soft. We'll boil the broth, soften the potatoes, and then we will continue with adding other ingredients. See how it goes. All right, so we've been letting the soup stew over there simmer for a little bit to get the potatoes soft and ready. And now we've got our next step. Okay, well, it is a potato Dijon soup. We've already got the potatoes, so guess what? Next step is the Dijon mustard. So there's 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard in here. We'll go ahead and put that in. Nice. And if you don't already know this, this is a mustard household, so this was not something that I had to prepare for. I already had it. Okay, so we're gonna stir in the mustard and we're gonna take down the heat of the burner just a little bit. So now we're going to go to a simmer. Let this flavor in here build. And I can't recall if I said it earlier in the part, but the recipes from this book are adapted from historical reference. I think this recipe was published by Arizona Historical Society, and it was adapted from another recipe of Tracy something and Chef Mike of the actual Copper Queen Hotel itself. So that's something that's really cool, that these are things that were on the menu or made by the people in this spooky haunted situation. All right, so let's go ahead and let that simmer, and then we'll get to our next step after. And now it's that time of the show where we use a gadget. So let's go see what I have for us today. Okay, so now is the part where I would say it's like fancy soup and not necessarily why we have to make sure that all the shapes are regular. Although in cooking, it's very helpful for your shapes and your dicing and your chopping to all be the same shape so everything can cook in the same manner. So I am practicing, I'm learning, I pass that along to you, the why, so you know why it's important to do that. Okay, so we have here a stick blender. This could be as old as I am. I'm not really sure how old it is. I know that I've stolen it from my parents' home, so if you're missing it, here it is. What we've got here on the end is a blade, and really it's just a stick blender, an immersion blender. You can use this to make like dressings and different things like that. For this, you can use this type of blender, or you can actually use a standing blender. I don't have one of those, so if you want to send me one, I would love to have one. But for now, we're going to use this immersion blender. I am going to turn this down and I'm going to move it off of the heat so there's less action happening in the pot itself. And we're just gonna give it a go and see how this is. So I have put the blender on the floor of the pot, the bottom of the pot, and there is space between the blender blade and the end plastic, just to kind of see where we're at. So here we go. You can pick it up a little bit and move it around because the chunky parts won't go through the side of the blender. And now you can see it's getting a little silky because all the vegetables and things got really soft. And you've probably noticed what I'm doing is picking it up every so often as I'm moving it around. I'm also letting off of the trigger, I guess, just so it doesn't burn out, because it's not really meant to last like a whole, like holding it down a really long time. Okay, and to be honest, that looks good to me. You're still probably going to have some chunky parts of pancetta unless you are one of those awesome people that put it through a full-blown blender. But this to me looks pretty good. I like what's happening here. Okay, put that back there. I'm going to put this back on the heat. We're simmering, we're simmering. Let me find a spoon. Okay. So now we're going to add some seasonings. So this is salt and pepper to taste. There is that. Ooh. She was starting to bubble up there a little bit. And I love pepper, so don't be scared of this. Again, salt and pepper to taste. Okay. Perfect. I'm going to stir that in. Nice. Okay, well, if you didn't think this couldn't be any more luxurious and decadent, well, let me tell you. We have 1 cup of half and half. If you prefer, you can also use a heavy cream, but 1 cup goes in here. And this just adds extra richness, that creamy soupiness. Ooh. Elevated soup right there. And I'm seeing still some chunks of that pancetta, like I was just mentioning, which I think will be a great texture when you're eating the soup. All right, so now that this is all fully incorporated, what you're gonna do is you will simmer this a little bit longer for about 5 or 10 more minutes until it is to your liking. Warm, and taste along the way. See if you need to add more salt, more pepper, see how it's going. We're gonna let that hang out for a little bit and then we'll bring you back for plating. So she's been simmering and now we need to check on her because we need to plate a bowl of soup. Okay. She looks very beautiful. There we go. Make sure that's all mixed in. And yes, I did switch utensils because when is a more appropriate time to use a ladle? I have very few and far between times for a ladle, so if you caught that, and if you didn't, this is a ladle check. Ladlevice? Edelweiss. Okay, we have this beautiful bowl of soup, and in the recipe, it's recommended that we garnish it with fresh chives. So, chives make everything look so fancy. Some have fallen out of the bowl. Rescue those. And this is how we have presented for the recipe. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and taste it as is. It's velvety, it's potato-y. It's got a really nice still texture because mine isn't all that smooth because we just use the hand blender, but I think it's gorgeous. Good for me. I put just the right amount of salt and pepper that I like. You get the baconiness, and I'll be honest, I was a little afraid that we weren't going to get enough of the Dijon mustard because, again, this is a mustard household, but that is absolutely perfect. It's really warm. You get the horseradishiness, the sweetness of the mustard just right below everything. It kind of like cradles the potato and the pancetta, and the leek offers that a little bit of, I guess, herbiness, the freshness of the spring onion, but, you know, deeper flavor than that. This was a really great recipe to kind of bring a close to spooky season, especially through this amazing book, Food to Die For, which also shout out to my parents. Not only did I steal the immersion blender from them, but they sent this to me. So just really appreciate them for doing that. And we move from spooky season to cozy soup season. This will take us through that holiday, and then also just keeping warm during the rest of the winter months. So I highly recommend this book and this recipe for Potato Dijon Soup. If you have anything that you would like for me to try, whether it be a soup or something spooky, something for the holiday season, definitely let me know in the comments. I would be happy to check those out with you. Yeah, but until next time, thank you so much.